I want to give a special shout out to all my patrons, my Bibliospran, Bibliohowlers, and Bibliomancers. Thank you so much for supporting my hobby and passion even more. It means so much to me. Hi everyone, Patrick here. So today's video will be the next episode of SFF Spotlight, and today will be episode number 17. This will be most likely the penultimate episode of SFF Spotlight in the year 2022 because I think there is only room for one more SFF Spotlight video before the end of the year. For those of you who are new to watching this video, this series of videos on my channel, this is where I will talk about new cover reveals, new special editions, new book news, and also new noteworthy release. So yeah, let's get started. And for the first time in, I think, in the history of SFF Spotlight, this is the first time where the number of news doesn't reach 20. And the first spotlight I would like to mention is something that I'm super excited about, and this is for a manga series. It is most likely that Vagabond by Takehiko Inoue will be coming back soon, because in a recent interview, Takehiko Inoue has revealed that he is looking forward to drawing the continuation of Vagabond as soon as possible. There is no confirmation yet on this, and I'm not even sure whether the interview is actually real or not. I really hope it's real though, because Vagabond is one of my top favorite manga series. Really, it is absolutely amazing. And the next spotlight is for Neuromancer by William Gibson. It has been announced that Neuromancer is coming to Apple TV. And Miles Teller, the actor in Top Gun Maverick and also Whiplash, is apparently the studio's first choice to play the protagonist, Case. And the production is slated to begin in summer 2023. I haven't read Neuromancer yet, but I've heard so many amazing things about this book. Hopefully I will get to reading it before this TV show comes out. And speaking of TV show adaptation, there is a big news here because the Dark Tower series by Stephen King will be adapted by Mike Flanagan. Mike Flanagan is one of my favorite directors. He's the director behind The Haunting of Hill House, The Haunting of Bly Manor, Midnight Mass, and also Midnight Club, and many other TV shows and movies. There is a lot of details in this announcement, and I will just leave the link to the interview in the description down below. If you're a fan of the Dark Tower series, make sure to check this interview out. And the next spotlight will be for the second season of Shadow and Bones. So the second season is set to premiere in March. I really enjoyed watching the first season. It's not one of my favorites yet, but I will certainly watch season 2 as well. And now we move on to the topic of special edition, and as always, the first one will be about the Broken Binding newest announcement. The Broken Binding just revealed their look for the Great Leveler collection by Joe Abercrombie. The Great Leveler collection consists of the standalone trilogy in the First Law world, and that is The Best Served Cold, The Heroes, and also Red Country. I think as far as look goes, I think this one is one of the best by the Broken Binding so far. Not counting the special edition for Ryan Cahill's Of Blood and Fire though, which, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, is still available to get, and you should get your hands on it before it's sold out. But this collection in the First Law world will be available for the Broken Binding subscribers in the month of January until March 2023. And on top of the Great Leveler collection, the Broken Binding also recently announced their special edition for the Roots of Chaos, the first 2 books in the Roots of Chaos by Samantha, Shannon. And I haven't read this series yet. I will just let the gorgeous pictures speak for themselves. Suffice to say that this edition looks absolutely stunning. Simple as that. And moving on to the next special edition, this is for the Winternight Trilogy by Katherine Arden, and this is the Illumicrate edition. The box features an exclusive edition of The Bear and the Nightingale, the first book in the Winternight Trilogy, with a redesigned cover by Ruth Beatle. The books also feature a full-color hardback design by Ruth Beatle as well, digitally printed edges, and design and papers by Jetty Nora. And they are signed by the author. Illumicrate has mentioned they will be doing matching editions for the rest of the trilogy at a later date. The box will be priced at £51 plus shipping fee in 2023, early 2023. And moving on to the next one, we will be talking about Kickstarter campaign, and the first one is just a reminder that Revenge by A.C. Cobble, the second book in the Wahrheit series, the Kickstarter campaign for this book is still available right now. There is still about 10 days left before the end of the campaign, and right now the campaign is still going strong. I think it's about to hit the first stretch goal, which means there will be more illustrations for the book. And the illustrations, the interior arts are done by Felix Hortes, the cover art is done by Daniel Kamarudin, and also the design is done by Sean King. And there is also a beautiful map done by Soraya Corcoran. And yes, you can get a copy of the first book on this campaign too if you missed on that. And before I forget, the Kickstarter page for the second volume in Mother of Learning by Nobody 103, the hardcover edition, is also up now. Now, the Kickstarter campaign for this one hasn't goes live yet, and I think it is very likely that this one will goes live in the month of January. Make sure to keep an eye out on this one. And as I said in my priority series video, Mother of Learning is one of my priority series to read next year. So I am certainly looking forward to get myself a copy of the second book too, because I already bought the hardcover of the first volume. And right now I'm just waiting for it to arrive at my doorstep. And the last special edition I want to mention here, and this is not actually for a book, but this is for the Lawful Times limited edition Bookmark by Daniel Greene, and also this project will be handled by Trademark Creative. I think this is such a beautiful looking bookmark with an art by Felix Ortiz and also designed by Sean King. And Lawful Times is a duology by Daniel Greene. And inside this Kickstarter campaign, Trademark also revealed the cover art to the upcoming special edition for the Lawful Times duology, I think Omnibus, that will most likely be published in late 2023. I think this cover art is just absolutely stunning. I love all the details that were put into this cover art. I haven't even read the books yet, but if you really look into the cover art, you can really see the amount of insane details and I think hidden meaning put into the cover art. It is so incredible. The cover art to this gorgeous Lawful Times duology will be done by Lena Richards, and then there is another cover art done by Zara Alfonso, and this is for A With Sin by Daniel Greene as well, and this one is coming in the first half of 2023. Just like the cover art to the Lawful Times duology, I think this cover art is so beautiful as well. I really love Zara Alfonso's artwork, and I think it is such a great choice from Daniel Greene and also Trademark to choose her as the cover artist for this book. But going back to this gold bookmark, 10% of all the sales will be donated to charity. So there's an extra incentive to participate in this Kickstarter campaign. And also, I've mentioned this plenty of times, but it goes without saying that SFF Spotlight is actually inspired by Daniel Greene's fantasy news. I think Daniel Greene has done many great jobs with the fantasy news, and I just want to offer my contribution to the fantasy community with my own SFF Spotlight. And now let's move on to the topic of cover reveals. And the first 3 cover reveals, all of them will be for books published by Orbit. And the first one is the cover art to the Faithless by C.L. Clarke has been revealed, and this one is looking hot. This is the sequel to The Unbroken. So yeah, this is the second book in the Magic of the Lost series. And the cover art, just like the first book, is done by Tommy Arnold. Again, Tommy Arnold is one of the best cover artists in the fantasy and sci-fi genre. And with the design and direction by Lauren Panepinto, I think both of them really nailed this cover art. This cover art looks even better than The Unbroken in my opinion, but when you combine them together, they look even better. And I have to admit that even though I own the first book for quite a while now, I still haven't read the first book yet, but I look forward to reading this series someday. And the next cover reveal is for a previously self-published book titled The Boy with Fire, and this time the title is The Phoenix King by Aparna Verma. I don't know too much about this one, but I think this is a South Asian inspired epic fantasy, and because Phoenix is in the cover art, I assume that this story will focus around rebirth and also fire. I haven't read The Boy with Fire yet, but I assume that The Phoenix King should be even better than The Boy with Fire. So if you have read the self-published edition, I think the traditionally published edition should be even better, because there is a really good chance that this book has received plenty of new editing done to it. And the third and final cover reveal for a book published by Orbit, and this one is for The Traitor by Anthony Ryan. This is the third and final book in the Covenant of Steel trilogy, and the cover art is done once again by Jamie Jones. I think the cover to the first and second book is still better than the cover art to The Traitor, but overall, this trilogy, all of them have a beautiful cover art, but again, they are done by Jamie Jones and designed by Lauren Panepinto, so they really cannot go wrong with this. I've read the first book, The Pariah, and I think The Pariah is Anthony Ryan's best book since Bloodsong, but I haven't read the second book, The Martyr, yet. Hopefully The Martyr or also The Traitor will be even better than Bloodsong. But I know that that is a hard challenge because I absolutely love Bloodsong and I consider that to be Anthony Ryan's best work. And the next cover reveal, shockingly, is not for a book published by Orbit, but this one is for James Islington's newest book to be released next year, The Will of the Many, the first book in the Hierarchy trilogy. And I don't know who did the cover art yet, there is no information on this right now, but I'm quite surprised that this is not published by Orbit Books, because the Lycanius trilogy is published by Orbit Books. And as far as cover art goes, I must say that this cover art looks alright, but it doesn't speak epic fantasy to me, even though I know that it is. It is still epic fantasy. But if you ask me my preference, I will immediately, in a heartbeat, choose the cover art to the Lycaeneus trilogy over The Will of the Many. But you know what? What matters most in the end is inside the book, and I know that James Islington will deliver another amazing story. And the next spotlight isn't actually for a brand new cover art, but this is a brand new design being done to the Faithless trilogy by Jacqueline Carey. So these are the new design for Kushiel's Dart, Kushiel's Chosen, and Kushiel's Avatar. I haven't read this series yet, but I have actually tried reading a few chapters from the first book, Kushiel's Dart, and I was so enamored with Jacqueline Carey's writing already. The new trade paperback edition by Tor Books with this design will be published in the 6th of June 2023. And the cover art are done by John Jude Palancar. The last 3 cover reveals, all of them are for self-published fantasy books, and the first one is for the Pyres of Vengeance by N.C. Koussis. This is the second book in the Sword of Dominion series, and the cover art is done by Nino Is. When this cover art was revealed, I was kinda sad that the cover artist wasn't even mentioned. But after seeing the cover art and the style to it, it immediately reminded me that this might be done by Nino Is, the cover artist behind the 11th Cycle by Kian Ardalan, and I was right, it is. And in my opinion, this cover art is a vast improvement over the cover art to the first book. I wouldn't even know that the first book is actually a grimdark fantasy. The cover to the first book really made me thought that this would be a YA fantasy romance in the tone of Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. But apparently this is a grimdark fantasy series. So hopefully someday the cover to the first book will be done by the same artist who did the cover art to the Pyres of Vengeance, Nino Is, because the cover art to the second book looks super good. And the next cover reveal is for the Tale of the Border Knight novella by A.R. Witham. So Witham is the author behind The Legend of the Blackjack, which I own already but still haven't read yet, but I heard many amazing things that Legend of the Blackjack supposedly is an incredible standalone novel, and I'm not sure whether this is actually a continuation or a standalone spin-off to it. Hopefully it is, but I think the cover art done by Sara Ferrari looks really good, and this one will be released in January 3rd, 2023. And the last cover reveal will be for a grimdark fantasy debut, and this one is for The Price of Power by Michel. So I haven't read this one yet, but I just got the advanced reading copy for this book. But I have a soft spot for a cover art with white background, and I think this cover art looks really good. I mean, just take a look at how the character in the cover art interact with the typography. I think it looks really nice. As far as reviews for The Price of Power, I heard from one of my patrons that this one should be suitable to those who love First Law Trilogy by Joe Abercrombie, and I think that is a high praise because Joe Abercrombie is one of my favorite authors. I look forward to reading this one someday. And the next spotlight will be for We Are the Dead by Mike Shackle. This is the first book in the Last Word trilogy, one of my favorite completed trilogy now, and the first book currently is priced at 99 cents on Amazon for the entirety of this month. I think that is such a bargain, and you should get it if you haven't read this series yet. And now let's move on to the last topic, and that is to talk about noteworthy release. And the first one is for Dance of Fang and Claw by Philip C. Quantrill. This is the third and final book in the Ranger Archives trilogy. The Ranger Archives is a prequel trilogy to the Echo Saga series by Philip C. Quantrill. I'm in the middle of reading through the final books of this series now. I will read them within this month. And yeah, this is an incredible series. If I end up giving at least 4.5 stars to The Last of the Dragon and also A Clash of Fates, then there is no doubt that the Echo Saga will become one of my favorite completed fantasy series. And I look forward to reading the Ranger Archives after I'm done with the Echo Saga this month or this year. But seriously, congratulations to Philip C. Quantrill for starting and completing this entire trilogy within this year. Yes, exactly. He released each book in this trilogy within this year. All of them. Incredible. And also, for those of you who are fans of The Witcher, the new hardcover, the new illustrated hardcover to The Sword of Destiny is out now, which means that The Witcher, all books in the series are out now in full gorgeous hardcover. They are looking super good, and if you are fans of the series, this is your chance to collect the entire series in this gorgeous looking edition. And for UK readers who want to get yourself a copy of these editions too, do not worry, the UK editions for this exact edition will be published next year. And finally, the last spotlight of today's video is for The Ashes of Man by Christopher Ruocchio. So yeah, the fifth book in the Sun Eater series, which is the penultimate installment of the series, is out now. But in the US, it will be out on December 13. This book, I have pre-ordered Ashes of Men, the hardcover of Ashes of Men, and it is on its way to me right now. So if you have watched my previous video on my top 10 priority series that I want to start and finish next year, I have mentioned the Sun Eater is one of the highest one, and yeah, I cannot wait to receive Ashes of Man and add it to my collection of books, and then read every book in the series within next year, every available books in the series. So yeah, that's the end of today's SFF Spotlight video. There will be one more episode of SFF Spotlight before the end of the year, but I just want to say thank you so much to every one of you who keep watching this series of videos on my channel. They are not easy to make, but they are always also so rewarding and satisfying, because many of you have mentioned just how beneficial this series of videos on my channel are, and I'm glad to hear that. As always, do tell me which of these news excites you the most, and yeah, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for your support. Bye bye. Lastly, I want to say thank you so much once again to all my patrons who keep on supporting me.